you are a celebrity. So basically what's going to happen is there's product here. And this is where you end up, right here. If you can communicate this product, you can make money off the product. Because look at Gaga. She's the creative director of Polaroid.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Ajay and Nathan Discuss Movies show. This is a show in which we discuss movies, both old and new. Today we have a new movie that's out in the theaters right now that, surprise, surprise, isn't making its money back in the box office.
Nope.
Which we are very happy about. We are big fans of David Zaslav here, as you can tell.
Oh, yeah. David Zaslav, the guy who's deleting most movies.
Yeah.
What a chump.
Great guy. We love him to death. But it is a new movie by Warner Brothers. It is a sequel to the original movie that appeared 4 years ago. I'd say 4 or 5 years ago.
Was it 4 years ago?
Pre-COVID, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Made over $1 billion for that movie.
Yep.
I don't think I'll be seeing that return for this movie.
Nope.
But what is that movie, Nathan?
Joker 2, Folie À Deux. Directed by Todd Phillips from the Hangover trilogy. What a winner.
And also he made a Road Trip as well, or Road Trip.
Road Trip?
Yeah, the 2000 film
with Tom Green.
Yeah.
Of course. This is exactly the kind of guy.
And the Hangover trilogy as well.
Yep.
How did he feel? Before we begin our thoughts, or give our thoughts, or delve into our thoughts, what is the movie about, Nathan?
Yes, Joker 2, Folie À Deux is the sequel to the standalone Joker film starring Joaquin Phoenix. It picks up a few years after the events of that film, where Arthur Fleck, a.k.a. the Joker, is being put on trial for the murders in the first film, and while this is happening, he begins a romance with a woman at Arkham Asylum, a woman by the name of Harleen Quinzel, the Harley Quinn, and their romance is depicted through musical numbers as their love blossoms and the court proceedings heat up. It's a movie. It's a movie.
It is a movie. And Nathan, you recently watched it.
Yeah,
earlier today, actually.
I got back from the theater maybe an hour ago. Did not have a good time.
Yeah.
Did not have a good time with this one. I am left confused and, in a way, a little irrationally, angry with the movie.
Yeah.
It was just an upsetting, miserable experience.
Yeah. You just weren't a fan of it.
I just was not a fan. For the first hour, it's another movie that is nearly 2.5 hours, which we have just got to stop with these overlong, self-indulgent, 2.5 hour movies that aren't even good. Someone has got to tell these directors, get it done in 90 minutes or don't do it at all. You don't need 2.5 hours of garbage. Stop it, please. It's a plead. I'm just ranting now.
No worries. I feel like we're going to get more into the rant later on in the episode when we get into spoilers.
Absolutely.
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
I was supposed to watch it this past weekend, on Saturday, so opening weekend.
Okay.
I went to Garba on Friday night. And if you guys don't know what Garba is, it's a traditional dance within the state of Gujarat, within India. Oh. It's Navratri time, so happy Navratri to all of you guys that are celebrating. But it's a traditional dance. I went there on Friday. I went to Garba on Friday. And I was awake for a long time afterwards. It was a long dance.
Oh, okay.
So I overslept. I was supposed to go at 10:30, so I woke up, it was 10:30. I'm like, oh no, I missed the Joker movie. So I woke up at 11:30 that day. That was a pretty good day. Next day, I went to Garba again on Saturday.
Okay, cool.
Right? Sunday, I wake up, and it's at 11:30, I think. The screening was at 11:30. I'm like, oh no, I didn't sleep the entire night. I'm going to fall asleep to this movie. So I watched the movie, and I did doze off for a few minutes here and there.
Yeah.
Having said all that, this is a movie, and maybe this is a backhanded compliment. I'm not so sure. This is a movie where you can easily doze off for most of the runtime, and you will still have an understanding as to what happens.
Yeah. No, you're right, because nothing really happens exactly. A good chunk of the movie is dedicated to kind of going through the beats of the first movie, what occurs in there, because a lot of it takes place in this trial where they're bringing up characters from the very first Joker movie to like give testimony against Arthur Fleck or Joker who's on trial. And a lot of it just, it's not a very like interesting or engaging like court movie, really, because like the scenes just kind of happen. They go through just like, is this the man you saw? Is this the Joker? And they're like, yes, it is. And then Joker goes up and he's just like, am I the Joker? And they're like, yes, you are. And then we move on to something else, maybe a musical number. This is the weakest musical I've ever seen. This is the most pathetic musical I've ever seen.
We have to be happy to get to the end. We have to save Christmas to save our friends. We have to save Christmas to save our friends. We have to save Christmas to save our friends.
And when it was first announced that the movie was going to be, it's a musical, that's a very interesting angle.
Yeah, I don't mind musicals. I
No.
like La La Land. I liked a few of the Fellini movies that also are musicals.
Yeah,
so
no.
Dolce Vita is a pretty good musical.
There are good movie musicals because they actually like utilize the fact that they're a musical in the story. The music is meant to, in a musical, like advance your story, give context to your characters. That's where the meat of your story is in the music, is in the musical numbers. This movie doesn't have any like musical numbers. People just kind of start singing.
Baby Boomer Santa, thank you for everything.
You're welcome. You're welcome for everything in the world.
Yeah.
And you don't it's just a gimmick, more or less.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a bad, not bad SNL skit, but it does feel like an SNL skit that like Mulaney would be in.
Yeah.
Where it would be like the airport sushi or
the bodega bathroom. Yeah, just like
the diner lobster. But at least with those, like it's funny and it's hilarious.
It's funny
this
and like
just drags.
It really does just drag. The musical numbers add nothing to the plot. There's maybe only, I counted like 4 or 5 like maybe like numbers where they're like the camera's actually moving or like they're doing anything like flashy. Like there should be like, if you're gonna do a musical, some spectacle to it, some artistry involved, but there's not much of that in here. The movie spreads itself so thin because it wants to do the musical, it wants to be a romance, it wants to be a court drama, it wants
introduce an animation in the beginning of the movie that had no connection to the film whatsoever.
I mean, it's connected in the sense that it lightly kind of retells the events of the first Joker movie.
Right, but at the same time, like I feel like that was kind of out of place. I'm not gonna lie.
It, in hindsight, because like when I saw that, like it opens with that like old school Warner Brothers animation of like a minor kind of summary of the first movie, and when I saw that, I'm just like, oh, this is kind of cool. I like that. Maybe like, hey, I know it's supposed to be a musical and all this stuff, maybe we'll add in some animation to liven stuff up. That would be cool. But then it just kind of happens, and in a sense it kind of lightly foreshadows what the movie's about, because it's like, is this guy Arthur Fleck, or is he the supervillain, the Joker? And that's kind of a point in the movie, is like, oh, is he Arthur or is he the Joker? But it's just something that they say a lot throughout the movie, and it never feels like it's truly fleshed out in full. Like Arthur is very static throughout the entire movie, up until one specific point.
Yeah, we'll get later. We'll get into it later.
I'm not going to say what it is, but his most major character change happens, and it's just very not great.
Yeah, he gets his insides explored.
Oh boy. Yeah.
No pun intended there. That's not a pun on like Arthur Fleck discovering himself, or not. Yeah, but we'll discuss it later. How did you feel about the performances? Because I feel like this film, while the performances were great, I think this falls entirely on the director not having a coherent vision.
Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix is good, but again, I feel like the character of Arthur, he went through like his whole arc in the first Joker, went from this meek, very like sad man with a very apparent mental illness to the Joker, who's, you know, larger than life, allows him to live out his darkest fantasies and yada yada. And in this movie, he's more or less just kind of swimming around in that, basically. And it's still like a good performance. Joaquin Phoenix is a terrific actor, but there's not a lot for him or his character to do. And I will say, though, Lady Gaga, I think, is probably the best part of this movie.
Yeah.
Easily.
I agree with that.
I think her performance as she's basically like, the movie is very meta, but she's like a fan she's a Joker fan. She loves the Joker. She's obsessed with the Joker. She's basically like one of these people who are like people who loved like Ted Bundy, just like, oh my God, I love this guy. She's basically like one of those, and she sells it very well. And the musical aspect she excels at, because it's Lady Gaga and she has a fantastic voice. So whenever she shows up, the movie it goes up so minorly a notch, but enough for me to be like, okay, I am engaged right now.
She is a great actor. I loved
Absolutely.
her in House of Gucci. I really loved her in the Bradley Cooper movie as well. I feel like with Gaga, she is a great actor. I mentioned this to you off air or without the cameras rolling, but she's really good. But whenever I watch her, it's not like, oh, it's Lady Gaga that just so happens to be playing it. It's like, oh, it's Lady Gaga, and it's a lot. It's a lot.
No, I can understand
that's not like a knock on her. Like, obviously, she's a great actor. Certainly the best part of this entire movie. But that was something that I just happened to notice, where it's like I can't like get so lost in this character because I know it's Gaga.
You can't separate the character from like, oh, it's Lady Gaga here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's completely understandable.
Having said all that, the part where she's like on the piano when like the Joker's like tap dancing.
Yeah.
I love that part a lot.
No, that's great. That's one of the like quote unquote musical numbers that I'm like, oh, I am enjoying this. This has an energy to it. It has a style that I wish was more consistent throughout, especially again, if you're going to do a musical. But this movie doesn't dedicate itself to doing a musical, doesn't dedicate itself to doing like a really in-depth like court drama. It kind of wants to do like a One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest kind of situation.
Yeah.
Because we keep going back to the jail in Arkham Asylum, and we see how Arthur Fleck is kind of like riling up the prisoners, but that doesn't really go anywhere. I mean, it goes somewhere, but...
Let's get into spoilers.
Yeah.
All right, shall we? So we're at the 13-minute mark so far in the review. Spoilers, because a lot happens during the third act of the movie.
Yeah, so much of the movie is dedicated to bringing up the events of the first movie, and there is a character, it's Catherine Keener, who's like his lawyer, and she wants him to like, you're mentally ill, you're not doing well, plead that to the court, but instead he decides, oh, I'm Joker, that's who I am, that's who I've always been. And you see him going down that rabbit hole and like riling things up. The One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest kind of comparison. He's riling up the prisoners, and it all culminates in when he gets back to the prison. He is fully
before the jury decides their
verdict.
Yeah, their verdict. He goes back into prison.
It is not explicitly shown.
No.
But it is heavily implied that they Joker out of him.
We will censor that
We're
part.
We're gonna that out.
We'll edit that part out. That was a weird laugh right there.
Yep.
We will edit that part out.
Oh, jeez.
We will add in a censor because it is graphic.
Yep, it is.
Not on screen, but the way that it's implied.
It is heavily implied that he is assaulted in the prison, and that is when he decides he no longer wants to be Joker. And that is when that happened. Up until that point, the movie was just overly long, boring, and just had like a bunch of stuff it was trying to do that it wasn't succeeding at. And I thought, you know what? This isn't great, but it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. And then that occurs, and I'm like, this at this point now, this just feels like gross. Like it just
Yeah.
feels so out of left field, so just mean-spirited and like irresponsible to throw that into the movie, and that being like the major catalyst for your protagonist like changing everything is a depiction of assault in a prison, and that is when he decides, maybe I'm not Joker anymore. It's like there were so many ways you could have gone about it. Him making the decision to shed the Joker title, but choosing that just feels so gross. Just kind of put me in a mood where I'm just like, oh no, I think I officially hate this now.
Yeah.
It's just kind of become miserable at this point.
I can tell this is easily your least favorite, not least favorite, but one of your most hated films of the year so far.
Yeah, and it could be, I don't know, maybe I'll settle down, like, because I did just see it, but it was such a turn. Like, it's a dark movie, but when you want to depict that on screen, it should come with a level of sensitivity to the subject, and a level of, if I'm going to do this, it shouldn't just be like out of this spiteful rage, but it was done out of spiteful rage just to kind of like shock the audience. And that to me just feels very not okay. And so, yeah, I don't like this movie because of that.
Yeah. There are issues during the third act of the movie. One of the issues that I felt was when he gets rearrested after like the police chase, or after they find him at the steps. They rearrest him, and they put him in the same prison that he was
because
before.
By that point, like, they have made the guilty verdict. Like, he's guilty on the charges, and like the penalty will just be the death penalty. And so bringing him back to the prison just so he can get stabbed by an inmate is just kind of like, why not just like bring him to the execution?
Yeah.
Instead of bringing, like, guys.
Yeah.
It just feels so weird, so loose and confused. And all the times that they just let Lady Gaga in to see him, like, while he's in like maximum security, while they put him in like the hole for 2 weeks, she just shows up just like, oh, the guard let me in. Like, why? I don't think he's allowed to do that.
Yeah.
And just like, and then you guys can just have sex in this maximum security cell? What?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. And then when she says that she's pregnant, I was like, okay, this is crazy now.
Okay.
I was like, that was the moment in the film where I'm like, this has made me completely like alienated from the film.
Yeah. No, I really felt so separate from the movie at a certain point. And it's like, it's so weird.
Yeah.
Just so weird. I know that this movie was made for Todd Phillips in the mind of like, oh, people took the wrong lessons from the first Joker movie. Like, people saw that movie as like everything that happens to Arthur in it as like, oh, this is aspirational, when what I wanted to do was make a tragic character study.
Yeah, he wanted to make a film that's basically a PSA for mental health and mental health awareness. So I did watch the original film before Folie À Deux. And there was a lot of hype with it.
Yeah, there is, yeah.
So when I came into watching the film, or when I started to watch the film, that was really cognizant within my mind, and I watched it, and even that film's not that great either. I'm not gonna lie. Like I've watched Scorsese's older works, and it's very reminiscent of like The Kings of Comedy.
Oh yeah, no, that's I feel like that's very
not the comedy film with Bernie Mac and D.L. Hughley and Cedric.
That would be such
Steve
a
Harvey.
different Joker movie. That would be a better Joker movie.
What your answer say?
Imagine Joker saying that at the courtroom.
I do.
What your answer say?
Okay. Anyways, back to the film.
Yeah.
So I did watch the original Joker, and I'm like, this film isn't that great as well. So I already had low expectations with this movie, and they were like basement level expectations. They weren't even that high, and even then, I was disappointed.
Yeah, I think because at the end of the day, the first Joker movie, first off, it doesn't really need to exist. Then again, you could argue no movie needs to exist. But the way I saw the first Joker movie, I didn't hate it. The first time I saw it, I'm like, oh, I kind of like that. But I like it on like the most shallow level of like, oh, they want to make an origin story for the Joker? Okay. And then they did, and I'm like, oh, that's not terrible. Mm-hmm. There's a worse way you could have gone about that. If you're going to rip off anyone, rip off Scorsese.
Yeah.
Like, hey, that's your safety net. But, and then like making a sequel, coming out and being like, oh, it's going to be a musical, and then not dedicating yourself to that, and then kind of just making a very meandering movie that is supposed to be a deconstruction of the first one, but kind of ends up just being like oh, you incels liked the first movie? Well, guess what? We're going to him.
Again, we'll put the censor in.
Yeah, we're going to censor that out. I did warn you I'd say that. But it's what happens in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, why put that in? For the life of me, I cannot understand. If you want to make a movie that is like, no, you guys were wrong about your interpretation of the first one, like, you can do that, but like, you don't have to do it in such a way that is just so like gross and edgy for like edginess sake, because that's kind of what it came off as.
Yeah, I mean, if they wanted to go full meta, because I can tell they wanted to go full meta and kind of borrow from Matrix Resurrections.
Yeah, sure,
but not to the extent as to which like the Wachowskis, but just like in a very subversive way.
Yeah,
but I can tell, like, for me personally, if they wanted to go full meta, they would have just had Bin Laden singing Lady Gaga's Poker Face in his compound cell.
Yeah?
Remember that video?
No.
That I put in at one point?
Can't read mine, no you can't read my poker face. Poker face, poker face. Poker face.
And they wanted to go full meta. They would have just had Bin Laden singing Poker Face and cut to credits.
Sure.
Directed by Todd Phillips.
Yeah, why not? I'd have preferred that to what they decided to do. Did you notice? I can't tell if like my brain has just been fried, but the judge that they have during the court scenes, does he look a lot like Martin Scorsese to you? He's like,
he kind of looked like Rudy Giuliani.
Looks, I can see it, but like the glasses, the big like wide like black frames, and like the white hair. The man just looked like Martin Scorsese.
Yeah.
And I choose to believe that he was trying to say something about Martin Scorsese. Like, you think you're the judge of movies, Martin Scorsese? Well, I made the Hangover trilogy.
I made the G.G. Allen documentary. Are you kidding me?
I directed Road Trip starring Tom Green. What have you done, Scorsese?
I directed War Dogs starring Miles Teller and Jonah Hill when Jonah Hill was fat.
Yeah.
I actually like that movie a lot.
Sorry, kind of an emergency. Sorry, don't worry, I have to go first. I'm American.
But anyways, wrapping up our thoughts about this
thoughts.
Because we gotta wrap it up.
If you liked the first Joker movie, you'll hate this. If you hated the first Joker movie, you'll still hate this. And so it's really not a movie for anyone, except for maybe masochists who just don't want to have a good time.
I don't understand why people are defending this movie. I understand Megalopolis. I understand The Crow. I can understand why people like that movie, especially if they're young. If they're young, I understand that.
Yeah,
if they're like in their teens, I get that. There are the movies that I can understand why people are in favor of and are in support of, that are divisive or getting negative reviews. We've discussed Freddy Got Fingered. It's a movie that's universally panned, but we're one of the few people that love it. Very sick of M. Night Shyamalan. That's a panned mockumentary, but we love it. This film, I can't understand for the life of me why people enjoy it.
I can see why people would enjoy it, because it is a meta takedown of the kind of like incels who, again, saw the first Joker as aspirational as opposed to tragic. And I can understand why they would enjoy this sequel being a takedown of that movie and kind of that reaction to it. But I feel like it's done in such a way that just feels too unfocused and just, again, kind of gross in some aspects. And so, yeah, I don't like Folie À Deux.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of this movie either. And, yeah, there's nothing much else to say besides
There's nothing
that.
much else to say. It's not going to make its money back. It kind of shouldn't make its money back.
No.
It's getting panned for good reason, and it's just, I don't see a point in watching it. I kind of wish I could forget it. I really do. I kind of wish I could forget both Joker movies. At this point, I'm kind of just like, I wish neither of them existed. I wish we had never made a Joker movie. We never needed it, and now that we have it, means we have this sequel, and I hate this sequel.
Yeah.
And in turn, I think I also hate the first movie now, too. In fact, I think I hate all movies now.
Thank you. Good night. Live from New York. It's Saturday night. That's the cold open. Anyways, yeah, I agree with you. I was not a fan of this movie at all. No. There were issues with the pacing of this movie. We didn't even get into the long runtime, or we did in the beginning.
We did.
We did.
Do it in 90 minutes or don't do it at all, man.
Yeah. So yeah, the runtime was an issue. The pacing, the lack of action. I mean, I'm not wanting an action film in a Joker sequel.
No.
Like, obviously, I'm not expecting that. But there was just a lack of anything happening.
Yeah.
There were just long moments in the film where you could easily just, as I did, doze off, wake up, and then catch the good parts.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like a good character study either.
No, it's really not. I mean, the first one, I can at least give it that, like, it took time and effort to, like, tell us something about this character and his journey. But this one, again, his journey is very meandering until one point, and then it switches gears, and I don't personally like how they get to that point.
Yeah.
Just don't like it. You don't need to do that in movies anymore.
Yeah.
We don't need to do that in movies anymore. Yeah. Keep it 90 minutes and keep grapes out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just like, I don't want to go to jail. You know what happens to a handsome guy like me in jail? It rhymes with grape. It rhymes with grape.
His insides looked like lasagna.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's it for us, guys.
Yeah,
we can't really add anything more
There's
besides
nothing much
that.
to add.
So, yeah, that's about it for us. If you like it, go watch it. If you don't watch it.
Don't watch it.
You don't need to watch it.
Just don't watch it.
Go watch,
Go watch The Wild Robot. Watch something nice.
Go watch Wild Robot. Watch something PG friendly.
Yeah.
Go watch Girls We Girls, which is a pretty good film. For those who know, Girls Will Be Girls. It's actually in theaters, independent theaters, but it's pretty good.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, that's about it for us. There are other movies out there. Don't watch this movie.
Yep.
All right. Peace. Bye.